pandemic and canceled seasons and postponed seasons and all kinds of interesting things going on. I am 1 year out of being retired, and I couldn't have made a better decision at a better time.
There's no doubt about that.
But we're really glad to have you here, Rick. Rick,
Yes.
I was fortunate enough to coach Tom and Rick at St. Paul in their senior year, um, and I'm really excited to have you here with us, Rick. And thanks for coming on with us, and we appreciate you taking the time.
No, I appreciate you guys reaching out. I love you guys both. And Coach, we were lucky enough to have you as a coach. That's kind of the truth.
Yeah, that's the real truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
The funny part about that is we've talked. Tom and I have talked about it in some of our podcasts that we're that haven't been aired yet. But we talked a little bit about being so young. We were so young when we took over that job, and got done with the end of that season, and I was obviously a little bit, I'm not sure what the word is for, bitter maybe at the end.
Yeah, 3-7 will do that to you.
Well, and we didn't do a better job, and we knew, we all have championship pedigrees, and we all had been used to winning. But we were, in our first couple of years for some of us, and in my first full year as a football coach in high school, and but whenever I got done, and I was kicking the cat and kicking the trash cans around the house, and Dad's, what is your problem? And I said, I'm pissed. I'm pissed. We didn't get it done. And he looked me square in the eye and he said, he said, you can be a great player, but it doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach. And it was the beginning of a 30-year career of coaching that was the driving force. And, and it was, we've often talked about what if we would have had your class of guys for 4 years. And then later on in our coaching careers where we had grown up a little bit and understood, things a little bit better. And, but we the lifelong companionship and friendships that we grew out of that are amazing, and it was a start to a lot of blasted off a lot of our careers.
Hey Rick, you know that Coach Olmedo was 26 years old when he took that job? 26.
Yeah. I didn't really realize. I didn't
Me
not
neither.
realize anything. Yeah,
No.
nothing. Just when I think back to that year, I never, not once has it crossed my mind.
It looks like you froze
I wish
up.
the coaching, I wish this, I just think that I know for ourselves, we're so confused after having 4 different head coaches or 3 different head coaches.
Yeah.
There was I guess I find these answers now as being a coach for a while now, even in my first few years as a head coach, the things that you do trying to figure out how to manufacture a team to get the kids to believe in what you're trying to teach takes time, and sometimes I'm asked, what's the difference between what are you doing now that you didn't do your first few years? And it's very simple. I just think that the parents and the players have just have bought into what I'm selling, and that's it. It's really, I'm not running different plays. I've talked to, I think I've talked to both of you about, I really believe that less is more nowadays. Those are just little adjustments, but really, when the boys show up and they want to win, it's really hard for me to do anything to make them fail,
It's really the opposite in the NFL. I mean, I thought that guy from the Chargers was a pretty solid human being. I'm embarrassed I don't remember his name, but he just got fired, and I'm like, okay, yeah, how long does it take before the professionals buy in? I mean, at some point, these guys got to play some football. He's got a young group. He's got a young quarterback. And they just, I mean, I don't know how, I guess the coach is getting the least contract, so he's the one that can go the quickest, I guess. But to your point, you need 4 years, or you need 3 years, or you need 5 years, to get it done with the kids for sure. So I don't know. The NFL is tragic, I think, with the way they just hack these guys away, No. And then, oh, by the way, Bill Belichick, 20 years in a row, same place, and you wonder why he's successful. It's like, it's not that hard.
Yeah, it's confusing. Even the college level, you see it happen constantly now too.
Right.
But there's no camaraderie really when there's that much money involved now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of 2020, 2021. and we're seeing it in high school now too, and how we're seeing it at the youth level too. It's just kind of growing and growing and growing. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
we're all going to have that time. We have to think about whether this is kind of what I envision.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's
what
not
I'd
what
it's
you
like to
signed up
interesting.
for.
It's interesting,
Yeah,
Rick. I've seen it's almost like that adage where people say, "Oh, the kids are so different," and I've always fought against that. The kids aren't that much different. What we accept from them has changed a lot,
Yeah.
and I think what we accept is kind of guided by some rules and regulations and stuff. So it's not all on coaches, but it's the same thing coaches said whenever we were coming in. Oh, it's so different now. You guys got it so much easier, and I think the guys that can kind of hoe that row a little bit and figure that part of it out are the guys that are successful because you can tell in the pros, what does Belichick do? He's got a disciplined group of guys who follow the Belichick way or the Patriot way,
yeah.
and that's not common, and I think that how does that surface up for you and what you're doing over there? How are the kids different or alike from kids you've had in the past?
I think it's a lot of personal time, and that really starts with the parents for me. I get to and I choose to interview every family that comes in that wants to play St. Paul football, and I'm really honest with them about what I'm doing here and what are the particulars or the details of what I'm trying to sell. And a lot of parents come in already educated because of the internet. They really don't need me to come in and give them 2 hours spiel on the 1960s, 70s, 80s, 90s, of St. Paul. It's really, I try to do a good job. I don't always do, but I really try and find out more about them first. And then it becomes easier to find out whether this is a good place for me and you know, because
My dad, the famous salesman, always would say that. He goes, if you want to be a good salesman, just shut up and they'll tell you how to sell them. They will
yeah,
tell you what they need and what they want and what they're going to spend their money on. And it sounds like you have that same mentality where you just, okay, let me hear about you, and then we'll just reinforce it, and we'll have a great respect for each other.
yeah, you find out amazing things about people that sometimes they're just, there's so much information now that even the coach down the street who doesn't have as many years as we have coached can still talk your same language and possibly sell somebody on it, which is dangerous and what's going on right now, anyhow, around the world.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's important when I think about Belichick and even Saban and all those phenomenal things that are happening. Um, you know, it's just a consistent sale, consistent philosophy, consistent every day. This is what we're doing. I'm not going to panic. I never want to seem desperate, even though it's a desperate time. We're just going to get through this. So there's some patience in it that I had to train myself after having some pretty lean years that are difficult, to think about. But like you said, right, you fail, then you recover, and what you do with that, is up to you. So yeah, I just think it's a consistent sell. And you hit the point about, I believe that also about with the kids. The kids are going to do what you want them to do, for the most part, as long as you're consistent. So guys, at St. Paul, we're still selling the no single digit and the cleats in 2020.
Yeah.
It's very, very, that's a big topic, you know, and how we're still doing it is just exactly like I said, I get that's important to you, but we're about the team, and here that's different. It's a really different sell, I think. And
Mhm.
whereas not everybody else, but perhaps in other places that are under high pressure to win also, uh, perhaps it's more of a give. We'll give you, we'll give you,
Hmm.
we'll give you. And it's different to hear, I'm not
Yeah.
giving you anything. You're going to
Yeah.
work for it.
Yeah, that's
So
interesting.
I hope that that's exactly, I've kind of hung my hat on these past few years.
There's a certain amount of I in 30 years of coaching, I think we probably can go back to the Jordan days where we gave into a few things that we probably wouldn't have given into. There never has been a guy who has taken us to the next level that we made exceptions for. That has always broken down the team around us. I've never seen anybody be worth it.
Right.
I'm sure they are out there somewhere, and they're getting it
Sure.
done somewhere, but it's not sustaining. It doesn't last. And what do you see, Rick, as being the things that sustain as you started to have some more success and built the program to where you kind of can run it like you expect it to be run? What are the things that sustain themselves that mean the most?
Well, your staff, number one, maybe they're all 1As, I guess, but I've got to have the right men around me. They have to speak what I'm speaking. If you catch somebody in the corner, it's Coach Garcia, and you ask him that question, and then you catch my other staff member and you ask him that question. Um, I really work on we're answering it the same way, and finding those men are difficult, at times. That's the magic potion as far as finding guys around you that believe in you enough, um, that will sell it everywhere they go. So I don't have to be out there talking all the time, and it's not really my personality anyhow. Um, I don't even really wear headphones, during the game. I've kind of because I feel like we've communicated enough during the week, guys. I'm not a
Wow,
micromanager.
that's
Go kick
awesome.
ass. Go win tonight.
Now, how much does the coach? How much does your assistants have input on that philosophy and input on those answers? I mean, do you guys sit down and say, well, what happens if this comes up, or do you say, when this comes up, we're going to do it this way, or when this comes up, we're going to say this? How does that work for your staff?
For me, it depends on how extreme the question is. But if it's just a natural question, like for instance, why don't we wear single digits? Well, it's for the team. So our big thing
Right.
is the team, the team, the team. I think the mantra or the kind of unwritten fight song is Bo Schembechler's speech on the team, and it's a video, and the kids stand up, and you listen to this like it's a prayer. Those are visual things that they can see. Where I've seen the kids go, "Oh, I get it. It's not Zepeda. This is kind of where it came from."
Mm.
Um, so there's just little things that I've picked up from other coaches, um, that I was always kind of afraid of doing because I was a creature of habit like everybody. And at some point, I love going to the AFCAs, and they're not having one this year, which is just I've been to 12 straight or whatever. But I love to go listen to those because they're 24-hour day pros, man. And it could be the Division III guy, or it could be the JC guy, but hell, even another high school guy. But they just bring it right, man. So that's kind of what I try to emulate. Whoever I see up there and going, man, that's a good message, and that guy hit that question right. And so it's just research too, right? I mean, you just kind of rob and steal, and how does that fit in your philosophy? So I try and take as many coaches as I can to that. And so every year it gets bigger and bigger because the guys come back and go, dude, you got to go to this thing. It's
Yeah.
phenomenal. And Tommy told me about it years ago. And I kind of said, yeah, I guess that's cool. And then I
You
got
get
to
to get
know
out of
him.
town, that's the other thing, you go see place.
Oh, every year it's going to be in Nashville. They just announced that. And then, this
Oh,
happened. And then the bombing that happened. Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of things that happened. But yeah, I know you can't go wrong with football for 4 days straight, and
Yeah.
just kind of learning and having beers with coaches. And there's the Division I guys, and there's everybody. And it's quite humbling.
Yeah,
From
it's
staying
amazing. It's amazing. Go ahead.
from being outside, and looking in, and for our listeners, I mean, you're my best friend, and we are in contact with each other, and we speak telepathically at times, and what I see is there's a difference between, you're really seeing it at the club level, where it's a desperation, it's a recruiting, and it's a gathering of talent, and grab this guy, and very, very selfish, where, and I watch you go from a guy that was ridiculously competitive, and I'm not saying you're not now, but it doesn't come off that way. I think you said that word desperation before, and I think that the entire southern section reeks of desperation. And you seem to be a guy, and please feel free to say different, but you're a guy that doesn't seem willing to bend 1 inch toward keeping your job. It doesn't seem like keeping your job is your number one goal. It sounds like building a team and playing for a championship every year and being consistent is what is your message and what's been your success. So if that is true, where did the change take place? When did you decide that, you know what, you can take the job if you want, I'm going to do it my way? When did the whole Frank Sinatra thing happen? Do you
Yeah.
know, or is it just a slow burn?
I've got to coach some great places with different staffs. Again, started at St. Paul's there for 8, 9, 10 years, what have you. And then I kind of, under Coach A, I learned an incredibly amount of detail and the redundancy of believing what you do,
Hmm.
which is very difficult to do. And he said all the time, repetition is the hardest thing any man can do. And I did that long enough to where I think there's a big part of me that still does that. And then you go to Long Beach, Jordan, where um, I had finally kind of had the opportunity to spread my wings and coach, and guys just let me coach the defense, and I got to get some ownership in that. And I think that that was a big turnaround for me because I got to coach some incredible athletes at the same time in an incredible league. You remember the Moore League was like the fastest league in
Yeah,
the country.
yeah.
Then you move on to to the JC level and did that for a couple of years. Then I got to be DC there too. And then that's where I learned the ways of recruiting. And I saw some guys master it, and I saw some guys do things and I said, nah, I don't want to do that. And I saw a few things. I said, yeah, that's good. And so I learned there too. Um, then I went to El Rancho, which I thought I was a pretty good fit at, and which was similar, very similar to St. Paul because of the great traditions of that program. And they were kind of dormant, but it was just enough to where it almost trained me how to deal with alumni, you know, naturally coming back to St. Paul. And I didn't
Right.
know that at the time, um, but again, it just again with those kids, it was just stay hard nosed, just stay physical with them. Okay, well, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and the kids just naturally believe after a little while too. And um, the dynamic in the whole trip was St. John Bosco for me. You know, um, I didn't know half the things were going on in high school football till I got there. So again, it was a blessing for me to be in the space, to be around Coach Negro and watch them dramatically change a school that had never had any type of success consistently on the
Mhm.
level they're doing now, and see really the nuts and bolts in it. I was in the engine, and seeing it going, So put all those things together back at St. Paul, I know what I liked and I know what I don't like. And that's where I just kind of stuck to it. So having the discipline is the biggest element of a coach over your years of coaching is, I think, very, very important, win or lose. So if you can fathom losing a football game, but you prepared them, you did all your paperwork, your boys know what's going on. We can all look each other in the eye after the game, and then we can regroup. Then I'm okay with that. The championship game is a nightmare for me. It's an absolute nightmare. And coach, I like to ask you. I mean, you guys probably in 1990 go to the finals. It's hard for me. It's even worse now because there's no season. It's still in my mind. It's still in my
Yeah.
gut. I've never been able to get that thing out, that taste out of my mouth.
Right.
Yep.
But how did you guys deal with it after 1990, Coach?
It took a lot. It took some time, obviously, to step back away from it because it was so devastating in our minds because and again, stepping back from it a little bit and being able to evaluate it and do it just like we did the work to begin with. We broke down the films and we watched and saw and we figured out, that there is something to the Johnnies and the Joes, and being able to have that realization. There were guys that couldn't come to that realization, and they couldn't understand how I could accept. And I'm not sure if accept is the word, but that it appeared that I accepted the loss in the sense that they were a better football team than we were, man for
Yeah,
man and physically, and they beat us. They beat us in a fair and square game. We knew we didn't under prepare. We knew we didn't call bad games on either side of the football. Um, and we did all the things that it's that thing, that adage, if you can look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, like you said, I did all those things. it still sticks in the craw, and that was 1990. It was 100 years ago, and it's still, I can still feel it. And I still talked about it in our preparation, for teams going forward. But, I think there's a certain amount, if you're going to be in this game for a long time, you have to be able to move on. Otherwise you're going to cheat the next team or the next week, or the next year out of what, you know you're still lingering in the past. So it's, it's like anything else. I think if you really believe you've done everything you can, then you've got to be able to move on. That's part of the game. I think the greatest thing about football, and maybe about any sports, is there's a winner and a loser, and you put yourself on the line with the ability to win and lose. And you have to be able to be man enough to accept that whenever it happens. Otherwise, don't play the game, don't coach the game, because then you're going to set a poor example for kids on how to deal with adversity. And that's kind of the general feeling of how we move through it. I don't think it ever leaves you, because you get
I
so
mean, to
few
be
chances.
fair, Chuck, to be fair, I mean that the staff was destroyed. I mean, you guys didn't coach again, right? I mean, everybody that there's a new coach that came in the next year. Is that correct? I
That
was
is
on that
correct.
next year's staff with Ron Hankey, and only 3 out of the 6 of you, or 3 out of the 7 of you, had a career of it. I mean, I think it's extremely devastating, and I think the way you guys went about it, there was no going back. There was no parachute. There was no, and I believe that had a lot to do with the success of it. But to your point, to answer your question, Rick, I was there, and that staff of 7 men or 8 men no longer coached. The guys stopped coaching. Obviously, Miguel had a tremendous career at Redlands, and Chuck had a tremendous 30-year career. And I guess Bob Sierra coached at the collegiate level. But I mean, by and large, there wasn't much left.
Yeah, but Robert Oviedo had a
Oh
successful
yeah, Rob. I'm
career.
sorry. Yeah.
The thing is that I don't think that it destroyed us in terms of the way we looked at it. I mean, from the outside looking in, I don't expect anybody to understand.
No,
I
that's
don't
me
expect
though. I mean,
anybody.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But what I'm saying, for the sake of being able to be a man who lives with the wins and losses, I think we moved on, and it made us a little smarter. It made us a little
Yeah.
more have a lot more desire to learn a little bit more, and kept us competitive. Um, but we didn't leave after that year because we lost. The the
Right.
the the the, the deterioration of the relationship with the administration and stuff, that was more of a head coaching decision, and we kind of followed suit because of that. But anyways, Rick, I know, you've been through it the last couple of years. You guys have really moved forward in into the playoffs, and done well. How are you dealing with your staff with those issues? What's the aftermath of the last couple of years with your staff, and moving forward? How are you doing that?
As you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, this is a great prelude into the season of 2020 because that answer will never be answered. It never happened. The memories, the wins, the losses, the challenges, the mentoring, the everything never happened. So we never have had the chance really to sit down and look ourselves in the face and go, how do you feel? you know and I haven't really gone to the team and said, okay, how are we going to adjust from this? It just never happened. So I don't know. I have basically the same staff, a couple new guys here and there, uh, but the nucleus is still there, and we talk about it. But boy, right now, so day to day, minute to minute, there's no time for anything else but to hope that tomorrow we get up and someone gives us a green light, or the vaccine's
Yeah.
alive and we're going to get 3 games in. And, that's
Yeah.
all we're really hoping for. So it genuinely, and what a sacrifice that this senior class, and there's so many people in this world, the the medical workers, the families that are getting COVID. I mean, there's just so many sacrifices all over the place. Um, this is a time too, and you probably have heard this too, to genuinely look back and go, wow, what a blessing that was, not really thinking about it as a blessing at the time. But now I'm like, I just, I'm like that kind of, I'm just hovering over memories of the season, um, and even previous seasons, going, looking down, going, that was incredible. It was just a moment in time that maybe you never get back, but you did, you got there. Um,
Yeah.
so we've had that time, to kind of heal, but not really heal. So
What
I
is
think
what has 2020 been like for you guys? What's the day-to-day operation since, again, a lot of waiting around and waiting for those things. What have you done to fill that time?
we've been, I think, very lucky, um, because of our admin. They've given me the opportunity to work the boys out. So we haven't gone longer than maybe two practices a week. Maybe on a good week, I really can't remember, we did three. But we're about to try it again, very soon here. And so it's really about being as honest with everybody as you can, but the answers normally are three words, and that is, I don't know,
yeah.
which is just frustrating for everybody. And I've told Tommy, I hate being a coach right now, because normally, okay, all right, 78's over there. Let's double team him, or let's not run over there. Okay, little Johnny has bad grades. Okay, get him over here. Let him spend a couple of times. We'll get him a tutor for English. I don't know is really mysterious to me, and I hate using that term. So, but it's gone on for almost a year now, and I still don't know. you know?
No.
So it's
Have you lost
terrible.
any kids, Rick?
Not, no, no. I hesitated because I had to think, because I'm in a time now where it's only fair to make decisions, almost, family decisions at this point,
Right.
to where the team doesn't really work so much here, because we're being asked as a state and a community to separate, to make the best decisions, to be a better individual than your neighbor or what have you, to tell on your neighbor if he's having too many people over. Boy, what a just backwards thing, man. And so, no, we have not, and I don't anticipate losing anybody, because we're a pretty close group, and I was so excited about this team because they're outstanding also. Boy, and we have great leadership too here. Um, so, boy, I was really hungry to get back on the field with these guys, this team, and show them off, let them go, because them too are competitive as heck, and they want to win. To not have that now, and to watch them kind of look at me or look at somebody coach, and kind of have one foot in that hot water where they don't normally never want to do that.
Right.
I have to accept it. I have to really regroup and retrain my mind to say, um, I got to let them go, even though that would never happen. So
I work at Villa Park, and we're right around the corner from Orange Lutheran. Orange Lutheran's $14,000 a year. Villa Park High School is free.
yeah,
And I constantly think about, what would I do with my child? Would I spend $14,000 to be in front of a computer, or would I just put him in front of a computer at Villa Park for free? And if the idea is there's not going to be a season, or there's not going to be the exposure, um, I find it. I just have the wrong obviously I have the wrong mentality about it. But how are you adding value to your program for your kids in this crazy time?
well, I think that educational wise, it's a it's just the families themselves. We talked about the information they have already. Everybody talks, right? So if my kid is at XYZ public school, and what is he doing? He does nothing. Those
Right.
guys are barely on. The teachers can come, they just get 15 minutes and they're out. Well, what is your kid doing in St. Paul? He's on that thing all day, and
Mm-hmm.
they're on his behind, and he has to get it, and the teachers communicate with us. And so that's been the simple one, is what the school has done. which has really helped us. It's
Right.
nothing I'm doing.
They're very
And there's the
legitimate with the
loyalty.
academics.
Yeah, and again, that goes back to the conversation, right? You come in and we're talking about something, and I want to tell you about the academics of St. Paul and how great our counselors are and how great the teachers are, and what a great environment and safe environment to have your kid in. What do you want to talk about football? And okay, what is it you want? You want to know? So that's how you find that family that's not all there just to watch, I don't know, me or whatever, catch a punt or whatever, man.
Right.
Has there been pushback from parents to the administration about anything, in terms of getting back on the field, or asking, are they putting any pressure on them to make decisions that are a little different?
Yeah, I mean, there's pressure to get the kids back into school. We're a mile and a half for Orange County line, and if I drive, make a left on Whittier from my house. I'm in Orange County, and you can sit outside have a patio. You can do a couple different things. The deeper you go, the more freedom it is.
Yep.
But most of our kids are from the other side of town, and it's tough. And but they hear things and they want to know why. And so the whole world's 50-50 now, right? In general, I mean, and this is just another item to be 50-50 about. And 50% think we should all be in school and no one care, and let everybody die. And the other
Yeah.
50% say, do not get out of bed. This is going to catch you and you're going to die. So how do you stay in the middle in that? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, I read the newspaper today and it said Los Angeles County is the most deadly place in America
Yeah.
with COVID. I'm going, what in the world is going on? You know what I mean? Like, what in the world is going on? I guess it would be better if it was snowing, because we'd all be stuck in our houses, but we get to go out and do whatever we want to do. And, what a
Right.
tragic deal. Tell me about the seniors, Rick, because they're literally the only ones that I keep battling in my head. What would I be like if it was my senior year? My junior year wasn't all that it should have been, and I knew that I had a nice senior year. But what if I didn't have that senior year? I would carry that emptiness around. I mean, are you guys talking about that as a staff? How are you messaging the kids about their senior year?
You know, I mean, of course, you have Zoom and you have texting and you have, phone call. I, you know, I'm so, I guess sometimes I'm overly positive about the outcomes of things that I haven't felt it being tragic to me in my own world. And I feel like if I sell that, that's what's going to be pushed, that's what they're
Right.
going to buy.
Law of
So
attraction. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, I kind of feel like, listen, CIF has not canceled our season. And if you ask my parents, I will tell them that at every meeting. Until
Mhm.
that day, we're going to get ourselves ready, because when that green light comes on, um, God help the team that's on the other side of the field hasn't been doing nothing. So
That's amazing.
that's my been approach this whole time. So I haven't come to that conclusion. I'm not naive. I know it's out there, but I choose not to really recognize it all that much. But I kind of mentioned earlier, I see it coming every day, every day. So
I've been trying to say this, and hopefully it's helpful to you and anybody who's listening. But as a history teacher, we always talk about the greatest generation. There's been books about the greatest generation, and I think, well, what made those people the greatest? And I look back, and they were born in the Great Depression, and they fought in World War II, and they killed Hitler, for God's sakes. They saved the world. And then they went out and worked their butts off in mostly blue collar factory jobs and farming jobs and these kind of things, and some small businesses and what have you. And I think to myself, the reason that they were great had a lot to do with the trying times that they grew up in. And I'm wondering, and this is my big fear, because I work in Orange County, and everything in Orange County is, let's normalize this, let's make it okay. Instead of embracing the suck and embracing the pain and embracing the troubled times we're in, and creating and allowing these young people to find that toughness within themselves, and find the toughness as a community, and find the toughness as do the right thing, instead of what's my thing. Because right before this, it's been all about me. and how am I become a YouTube sensation, and how do I get followers on Twitter. We have to do this together. And that's the message that you're saying at St. Paul. But can you imagine if we all said, you know what? This is tough times. But if we get past it, we're going to be badass. You know, and it's not something that we had to do, Rick. We didn't have to go through tough times as a generation. Generation X, we just cruised around and, you know, whatever, you know, we'll do whatever we're going to do. But these kids can be it. These kids that are going to find this pain and suffering as a growth thing. It's going to, you know, iron sharpens iron. I really feel like there's a missed opportunity here, and I might be the crazy one, and please tell me if I am. But I feel like we should say, yeah, this is brutal, and the only way we're going to do it is if we like feel it a little bit, kind of wear it, you know, wear that inside pitch, and you know, take the shot. You know, we love the quarterback to hold the ball and throw it the last minute and take a shot, right? Yeah, that's going to be a touchdown every time. Are you willing to do that? And I feel that there's this weird thing that we're missing, this opportunity that we're missing to help these kids be tougher than we are, tougher than the generation before them, and, you know, maybe even tougher than the baby boomers. I hope that's helpful. I feel like we got to stop acting like we got to do everything. Like my school wants to do everything normal. We want to have school. Let's have school. Everyone come to school and we'll just act like it's normal. In the meantime, they're sitting in a phone booth of plastic. You know, like that's not normal. You know, there's 10 kids in the quad. You know, that's not normal. You know, I'm sweating because I don't want to get COVID. That's not normal. You know, and I don't. Is there any thought about that bigger global generational thing, or are you just trying to keep kids from being super depressed? And what's your thoughts on that? That might have been a little too philosophical. I think about that stuff all the time. No, I do. I think about generational. You know, like who's tough and what he went through. You know.
Yeah, well, you know,
I stumped you.
well, no, I would say this. It kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier. Is I don't, I don't think that about the kids.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I just don't raise my kids that way. I don't give my kids everything. I make life tough on them. They have to take out the trash. They got to do all the stuff that we used to do back in the day. And there's no free passes. My sons knew that life was.
There's a certain amount of adult thinking. You know, again, we've talked about this before, Tom. You know, there's an adult thinking process. The kids don't think like that. You know, I mean, right. kids are a lot more resilient. And one of the things, Rick, that was really amazing to me was being on social media and being committed kind of to I got a little thing that I do, and, you know, and being around. So I have to really stay out of the politics because, you know, I'm preaching peace and love, and, you know, right. I want to go on and tell them, you know, something completely different, you know, sure. So I stay kind of out of the mix. But when I did start to see coaches start to complain about wearing masks, about not being able to go to the restaurants, and I mean complaining, like being pretty brutal and being pretty loudmouth about it. You know, I had to go on and I had to say, you know, we teach kids every day to make sacrifices. We teach kids every day to withstand adversity and come out the other side and not succumb to the adversity and not lose your cool and not lose your shit and maintain a certain amount of professionalism or poise. And yet the adults are the ones that are freaking out and talking shit and acting like goofballs. You know, what would you say to your kid if he came up to you and said, you know, coach, I really don't think that spring practice is for me. You know, I get what you're trying to do, but I'm going to sit out for a few days, you know, every week and just kind of get ready. You know, I don't really dig what you know, I mean, you wouldn't buy that. I mean, nobody would buy that, but there's a lot of adults that are acting that way. And I think that's something that's rolling over into the kids' responses is they're looking at us for the way we react. So I applaud you for your poise and you know, the way that you sound like you're handling it, because I think it makes a big difference.
Yeah, you talk about those generations, Tommy. You know, I think that there were great examples. You know, when they looked at their parents getting up and starting to plow, or getting up and going to work every day and getting up, and you know, I'm not sure if everybody has those examples anymore. So they're coaches, right? They're teachers, right? They're nurses, right? They're who's going to stand on the line for the kids? I live in a teenage world. So I really don't pay attention too much to the adult side of things because, I'm not going to change that person from thinking that way. I don't know how he got that way, 48 years old. He's saying these ridiculous things. That's what I think. I think to myself, what the hell happened to this guy? Like, where did he go? I like to read where he found out how to think like that.
Right, right.
So if
That's
I could keep
awesome. That's
myself in the
awesome.
teenage world, and if they could at least know that I'm on the line with them. I know there's a virus out there, but brothers, we're going to get on the field and we're going to try and do something today. We're going to have, there's some restrictions and we're going to do some that, but I'm here with you and your coaches are here with you and we're trying. I
Hmm.
think that's the only thing that everybody could do. It's keeping them at home constantly because me as adult, I'm scared. And, that translates to the boys and to the girls. They're like, wait a minute. I get this all the time. Perhaps you guys hear this too, but um, tell me one kid, the teenager that has passed away from playing football or all these. I hear that, and that's a kid, that's a teenage perspective, that's not really out there, and they feel punished by it. They feel like, why us,
Mm.
when we can still do these things. So, but no one's really answered that.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are the responsibilities. And going back to the club stuff, and I mentioned discipline. There's a discipline to being a coach, and one of them is to make sure that we're disciplined enough to protect our kids, protect our players, protect our team, protect our community. And by soliciting talent, soliciting an opportunity financially, um, and playing with the game of football itself, just kind of manipulating it to where it seems like it's just another game, just like softball, just like basketball, just like baseball and basketball. It's not. That's what's made it so great, right? I think I could coach a lot of other sports, but boy, football just drags me down that street, man. It makes me feel miserable, and but there's nothing prouder at the end of the season. I just feel like,
Right.
what a great. I just feel alive. I feel young. And so that's the. I want to be a CIF coach. So CIFs, like I said, but there's a discipline in that. I think for a lot of the great high school coaches that are not trying to sell a club and get my guys out there because to me, boy, I'm going to use your kid's body as kind of a rag doll, just to put him out there and put a helmet, shoulder pads on him with no training at all. Hell, we know it takes from January to get your kid to August to play 4 quarters.
Yeah.
That's not happening.
Yeah, Chuck just said that yesterday, as a matter of fact. He literally said those exact
It's
words
one of those
yesterday.
things that is the biggest fear, as far as I can see, is that we talked we were talking about training and the evolution of training and learning, how to be a better train better to keep from knee injuries from happening, and ankles and shoulders, and those things became really at the forefront of our training methods. And we could see the injuries get less and less through that training. And now to say that, the good programs are training and lifting, and some programs have the ability, their kids are a little more well off. I see videos on social media with, I'm like, what gym is that kid at? And he's not at a gym, he's in his garage. He's
Yeah,
down
it's
South County,
beautiful.
and he's got,
Yeah.
it looks like a gym. But those things that are not being done to say that they're going to stick kids on the football field. I mean, I'm seeing it in the NFL, and I'm seeing it in college, where it seems like a lot more guys are going down with knees and ankles, and shoulders than before, and that's all off-season training. I have you guys been able to work your program, with the individual kids, having their programs, and are they following along with what they would normally be doing?
I mean, yes, but it's modified to the point to where when we do have them on campus, we have modified our weight room to what's outside. So we've moved just about everything outside. Um, and that was kind of our first philosophy when we approached this whole thing. Is like, listen, we may not have our plays down, but boy, we're going to go 4 quarters and we're going to be
Right.
conditioned. So that was really our own philosophy for the season if we had played in September and all of that. So yeah, we've worked them pretty hard. Um, but to be honest, as it's gone longer and longer, um, the numbers had dwindled and dwindled because my workouts are optional. You know,
Mm,
I can't make them mandatory because of the 50-50 thing. And
Right.
because we worry about the people around us.
right.
So I promised them I'd take care of their kids. Well, that's part of it. So it's basically what can you give? Do you show up? Awesome. Can't hug them, can't kiss them, can't just all right.
You
Yeah.
can't shake their hands.
I don't. We've done the Zoom. I have a great coach, Gerald Biggers, who does the Zoom on the internet for them, and everybody's in the room, and he does a phenomenal job. But boy, if there's two, uh, not the only two, but boy, a coach and a teacher, I'm sure a lot of families know how gosh darn important those positions are now, man.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
Well,
because you
Yeah,
can
for
train all
sure.
you want by yourself, but you got a coach on your behind. Look out, man. Teachers,
It's
same thing.
tough. Yeah, it's tough to stay motivated. Let me shift gears a little bit on talk a little bit more about the club stuff. I one of the biggest things that influenced the last few years of my coaching career was dealing with the 7-on-7 coaches and dealing with our kids that were being fed a lot of I'll say misinformation about recruiting and things like that, and paying a significant amount of money because they weren't the guys that they were bringing in for free. But to play on those 7-on-7 teams and kind of taken away, and it seemed to always be taking away a little bit of their enthusiasm for the day-to-day practice stuff that we were doing. And I think I was fortunate to not have a lot of those guys, but I watched it happen, and I watched those guys bring guys because we ran bigger, stronger, faster, and sound mind, sound body, where there were thousands of kids out there to compete on a couple of teams,
Mm.
and they were competing, but there wasn't a lot of coaching going on, and I was real worried about how that was influencing the kids. Now I'm seeing this club team thing, and I just watched a game in Arizona with a bunch of California kids, and it was possibly the worst football I've seen in a long time. And there
Yeah,
wasn't a lot of continuity, and there wasn't, there was a lot of guys that were just sloppy, out of shape looking kids. Is a lot of that being influenced by parents wanting to get their kids exposure? Is that the message that's being sold, and how do you deal with all that?
yeah. I mean, yes, 100%. There's always someone who knows a little bit more than me, right? There's always someone more that knows a little bit. Um, you know, I think that there's so much information out there that's like we mentioned earlier before. There's just a bunch of experts. By the time it gets back to me, I've got to kind of pop that bubble or what have you. But there's just some things that the momentum of life that you just can't stop. You know, so we're talking about high school football. It's the momentum of high school football. It's where it's going. It's where it's gone. We started our own team so they wouldn't go play for anybody else. Now, does that mean that two of my players didn't come to me who really want to play for, I don't know what the names are, Basters, whatever,
Right.
and ask me? And I look at them and go, well, when we practice, you come here first. We're the priority. Yes, sir. See you later, man. I mean, I can't win all those battles. And for as much as in my own program is the boys sacrifice, um, with the all the glamour of high school football. Hey, it must be nice to go off and wear an orange and green and blue and green headband and all that stuff, and then come back to St. Paul and you're gonna wear number 67. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean. So there's a give and take. And it's a relationship. It's 50-50. I tell the boys all the time. I'll give you 50, give me 50, it's 100. We're good. I give you 70, you give me 30. We have problems, man. I give you 30, you 70, you're transferring. That's all there is to it.
Sure.
So
if they're performing poorly and they're sloppy and they're out of shape, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that say that any exposure is good exposure, but I can't imagine that's a good
I would
exposure. I don't think that's a good look, and I don't know if anybody's looking.
I would say this, it's the combines that I really question.
Oh,
So you've been to a combine, the Nike combine, all these combines, right? And then of course the 5-star guys show up, and
Right.
of course there's Sarkeesian from Alabama, and there's Jorge Messi, of course, you know what I mean? But they ain't there to see me, man. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna run my 40. And if I'm the 50-50 guy where I'm 6 feet, 185, but I happen to run a 40 of a 4.9 or a 5.1 or whatever, it's a wrap for you, brother. I mean, ain't nobody gonna put you on the list. And so that's my honest conversation. See you later. Have a good time. I hope it works out for you. Like I said, I cannot stop all that stuff, but most of that is not really there to help them if they put it on paper.
Now,
Um,
just to be, I want to give you some props because I think there's not a lot of coaches out there, and I've been fortunate enough to be around a few that are in the league that you're in. But I feel like you get kids out more than just about anybody, and that if that means the Midwest, and if that means the frozen tundra of Minnesota, or that means going down south, or that means going to NAIA, you do a phenomenal job. So my question is, and I hope you realize that. I don't know if you realize that. Not everybody does what you do,
yeah, we have
but
about 23 guys playing right now. College
yeah,
stuff.
that's incredible. And so what? I know I don't want you to use a 3-word answer. I don't know, but what do you predict recruiting is going to look like for these seniors without
Well,
games?
yeah, even let's say you get 4 or 5 games, whatever. Well,
Yeah,
I say this: the guys who had a great junior year, and I think you made that point earlier, you're in a driver's seat. You actually have people coming after you without having to play you down the season. Now, if you're that senior that has worked your whole butt off the whole year, and this is your year, and you're finally going to start for St. Paul, and you're excited, and boy, that's a disaster.
hmm
So then you go back to the academics. How are your grades, man? A 3.5, coach. Guess what? There's no SAT. Where do you want to play, man? You know.
right.
So that's always the avenue that I go back to is the academics, and it's just that one. Um, it just gets you in the door just about anywhere, right? So if
hmm
you're 2.5, 2.6, and you're only 5'9", 175 pounds, but you're just phenomenal, and it just all your choices go down. But that's really why we've been able to have success recruiting wise, because our kids are good students, and they're
But how
good
do you
players.
have the Division two conversation and the NAIA conversation? I know for me, I thought I was a Division one guy, and that's why I played like I did. If I thought I was a Division three guy, I probably never would have had the confidence to do the things that I did on the field. Whatever. In my mind, looking back, how do you have the Division two conversation with the kid? I mean, if they want Power Five, everyone wants that. That's why they go spend the money at the Nike clinic and they go do all these foolish things. They go to Arizona and RISA and ACL. They go over here. How do you have that conversation with them? Do you wait till the season's over and then sort of say, okay, let's get real, or is it a constant thing that because if I'm a Power Five guy, I don't need a 3.9. I don't need academics because I'm not. If I'm 5-star, it don't matter.
That's
You know.
right. 2-3, man.
So
Probably someone took
so
a
how do
nap
you
that
how do
day.
you have that conversation? How does that happen?
It becomes real to where it's just in the room. It's
Okay.
it's I've got a couple of coaches. One coach, Hernandez, who just does a phenomenal job of reaching out to everybody. He just enjoys it,
Yeah.
and that's
He's
a great
incredible
thing.
on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just fantastic, man. And one day he's going to be a head coach, and he's going to do great, great things. But
Right.
it's opposite in a lot of it too. Tommy, it was my own personal experience. I went to
Yeah.
a small school in Kansas, so
Right.
I've been there, and I hear these schools, and they're going, Coach, this school, Upper Iowa, is calling me. I'm like, good school, nice town. I actually
Yeah.
kind of went there. I
Very
mean,
friendly people.
yeah, and then I
Well, do
tell
you
them
want to
because the big,
play?
yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Do you want to play ball or not, man?
Right.
So it helps that way. But you know what, too? The smaller schools have done a phenomenal job of marketing themselves now. It's really, really incredible, man. I mean, these schools are
Yeah.
coming out to California and they're offering you, man, on the phone. And our kids just are not educated enough on who's out there. But again, I said I've seen most of those schools he's been out there. And then I was at a JC the Jayhawk Conference in Kansas also, which was a major, major hub for Division One transfers. So I
Right.
saw that too. Then I transferred to LSU, which Power Five now.
Yeah.
So I saw that process too. So I can kind of catch you and segment you, knowing that my personal history doesn't. I don't have this glamorous players deal at all, but I lived the recruiting life.
Mhm.
So it's easy for me to kind of translate that to people. And I think that helps.
And you can just inspire those kids. Hey, man, just put on a coat, go to class, get your education, and guess what? You get to play ball instead of delivering pizzas.
But the
That's how you
frustrating
pay.
part that I think we all see, right, in this whole 2020 thing is players opting out. I'm opting out. I'm opting out. I'm opting out. When did the NFL become a bank, man? Like a lifetime mortgage? Who's
Yeah.
selling that, man? It's so bad because they're leaving the sophomores and maybe juniors with still not enough credits. They're gonna maybe make the team. You guys know the story.
Yeah.
And then come back and,
Yeah.
and not have a degree, you know?
It is. It's fantastic, and not in a good way. It's really amazing to see the changes. And I think again I've talked about this before, but anybody that's making big time decisions in the year of COVID, I got to hand it to them, because even if you're making decisions I don't agree with, you got to be the one who says, so you're, like you said, Rick, 50-50, you're going to get 50% are going to hammer you no matter what you choose. And that people are out there hustling, and people are out there, still. I told some kids the other day, they were worried about, they had somebody that was talking to him as a junior, and it's a Division 3 schools, two Division 3 schools. And I said, you might be better off now than you were before,
Right.
with the season coming, because they know you and they have a relationship with you. They're not going to have that same relationship with 20 more guys that they might if the season was happening right now, and be thankful for what you have. But yeah, it's a crazy world out there with the opting out, and the kids, the guys not playing in bowl games, and guys portal transferring,
Yeah.
coming and playing 1 year starting quarterback, and and stuff like that. It changes the vibe of what we've I know I've learned, about being
Yeah.
loyal, and
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
the 7-on-7 and things, it changed the loyalty factor, and to have to move through that, that's what has been hard for a lot of coaches that I know.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember the nonsense with Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts was they were praising him for how well he took the demotion, and the fact that he was leaving was not even an issue. They were like, of course he's going to leave, and boy, let's take our hat off to he didn't talk trash about Tua. And I thought to myself, no, he needs to compete against Tua. I don't see where going. I mean, obviously I don't know what I'm talking about, because Jalen had a great season, and now he's had another great season with the Eagles. But I just thought that's how far we've come, where it doesn't even bother us anymore. It's like, whatever, like, sure, boy, he's the exception to the rule because he kept his mouth shut. I'm like, when did that become a thing? I never,
I
I
mean, the
never.
news, and this, coach, too, that the newspaper, local newspaper, LA Times, is going to ask you any notable transfers you should be talking about. I'm like,
Right,
what?
right.
Who's going to ever admit that, and who's going to want to talk about that, man?
Right.
It's
Yeah, I stole this
horrible.
dude, and I'm giving him $100 a month.
Yeah,
It's like, what?
yeah, and the
His
poor
mom got a
kid.
new car.
Yeah. By the way, we got another extra van. Can you help us get,
Yeah.
Yeah,
get out,
yeah.
out and pick this?
It's
It's
just
it's a
crazy,
process.
man.
It's the competitive nature of coaches to work within the rules. And when you're pressing the envelope a little bit, on the rules, and you're one of those guys, I mean, there's teams that I know have won CIF championships, and those guys are pirates. Those guys have,
Yeah.
did
Yeah,
everything known
man.
to mankind, and those guys win championships too. So it's a tough road to hoe whenever you're trying to be a legit guy and stay within the rules, and it's a fine line. Again, recruiting and those kind of things have taken a big place. You can't win in the upper divisions of high school football unless you have a process, to recruit kids or to get kids interested. And I think it's
I think the
might be.
difference. I think the difference is though, if you're going to be a pirate, then you're leaving yourself exposed to be kicked out if you don't have success. I mean, if you're a high character coach, you're gonna be 800 or 900 winning percentage. You're gonna have a job for a while, and you're gonna be able to impact so many more kids than some fake ring that you stole by stealing somebody else's kid. I mean, at least that's what I see. As far as long term goes, I mean, it's got to mean more to play 14 weeks with your homegrown kids. I think maybe I'm a little too fairy tale, but I
Well,
mean,
the easy answer to what I know is a quote to quote a famous coach. It's evolution, Tommy.
it's evolution.
That's exactly. Time
I
stands for no man.
No, I mean,
I don't
you're
think
gonna get
people care. I
yourself.
don't think there's a lot of guys who don't care. There's a lot of guys who
Yeah.
don't care how they're perceived. They
Right.
want to win, and they're going to do whatever it takes to give them an advantage. And it was clear in Division 10 and 11 down there where I was coaching for a while, and it was clear in Division 1. And look at the difference between St. John Bosco now and then.
Right.
It was about opening up the purse strings. you know
Right.
you gave guys the opportunity to have the funds to be able to get kids in school, and that changed everything. you
Yeah.
know those guys aren't those guys had a plan, no doubt, when they came in there, and they're smart guys, and Jason's a smart dude and had a little bit of an education from being down south. But I'll tell you what, he's not that much different than most coaches if they open up the purse strings.
Right.
That changes everything.
I get this all the time. Hey, Rick, when are we gonna catch up to St. John Bosco, man? I'm tired. I'm like, okay, they're not only good, they're the number one team in the United States, man.
Right.
There's,
Right. Right.
there's a serious things that we got to do that I'm not really comfortable doing right now. I don't think the school is.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, are we in the game to what does a child get more out of? Winning or, the character issue? Like to me, I think we're serving the population by proving that we could be damn successful and have toughness, and we can be strong, and we can be morally good, and all that stuff. And I always thought that was the cool part about, being in a private school. And then something like the Trinity League happens, and it just becomes a little bit out of control in my mind. No offense to them, they all know what they're getting into. They knew the job was dangerous when they took it, and the kids go there, they know what they're buying. But when I went to St. Paul, I went because they were badass, and because I thought I was going to learn something about being a man. And it didn't change what my record was in high school. You know what I mean? That didn't change. I still learned those lessons, and I still became tough. And I don't know. It just seems like it's just.
Well, I think
it seems like
immediately
there's
helps
two
the
different
program
footballs.
now is the boys want to win. They want to be part of a winner. They want to be just part of that. It's when you bring up those big programs, some kids just go there they could start for any school anywhere else, but they're going to stand
Right.
there and clap for 4 quarters because they just want to be part of that. That's the immediate gratification process. The
Right.
man thing, sometimes it takes guys 10 years, 20 years, 40 years where they finally admit,
Right.
Coach Zepeda was all right, man. He didn't hate me. He did push me. He did all that stuff. So who knows when that comes?
Right. I love that. Yeah.
So
One of the greatest things in my coaching career lately was I got a call from a couple of lineman kids who they had graduated. They were 2 years going on our second year out of school, and one of the kids was going into the Marines. And they said, let's go have a lunch or something, coach. And so I said, well, come down at school. Nobody's here. I'm working. I'm here. Come down. Let's chat and see what we can do. And they drove down, and 8 kids came. All drove up in their own cars. 8 cars pull in the parking lot. And get out of and I was like, it blew me away, because there's no way those 8 kids I ever thought would ever have a job long enough to buy a car. I know their parents didn't have the funds to be able to buy them cars. And I said, dude, what the heck's going on? You guys all have cars? You guys all shit, coach. You told us we had to friggin' work for the things that we wanted. So as soon as we got done, we got our jobs. Simple, silly stuff like that. but it was real, and it was real, and their lives were different, and they didn't go on and on about how we saved their lives or anything, but you just look at those kids and you knew they were going to have a better life for themselves
Yeah.
because of what they learned in the program. And if that can be done, and I know what you're doing over there, Rick. I've seen and heard enough to know that that's staying true to those values in amongst all the changes that have gone on. Again, it's an honor to have you with us tonight to talk
Amen.
about it a little. I really appreciate the fact that you've been able to be honest. I know that the tough part is speaking about a lot of the things that are controversial. I'm the one over here that wants to say fuck all those guys that are on the 7-on-7 guys. I'll say it for you so you don't have to say it because they're jackasses who are making money off those kids, and I don't like it, and it pisses me off. But I know that's you got to handle things differently. So I just
let's take 2 minutes though to talk. Let's just take 2 minutes before we go. Is there how are things at St. Paul? I mean, are you guys getting coaches coming through your door? Are you in communication? All the things. Let's let you have a little PSA right now. Let's let you talk about why you should come to St. Paul. I mean, obviously we talked about the academic piece. You don't have to go into that, but tell me about. I know why I went to St. Paul. I know why you went to St. Paul. Why is it such a special place?
I often think about that because you have to have an answer when someone asks you that.
Yeah. Sorry, we can edit this out if you want.
No, but really, there's got to be a place in this society, in this era, where you could still go and have an opportunity to play if you worked hard, you're a good teammate, you're academically sound, and you have high character. So you don't have to be 6'5" to come to St. Paul. You could be 5'6", but we're still going to coach you like you're 6'5", and you're still. It's where everybody is important, or everybody counts still. That's what's great about St. Paul.
Nice.
That's as easy as I can put it.
And 23 guys playing college football in the last 4 years is nothing to shake a stick at. Not many people doing that. So I know that's important to a lot of 6'5" guys. So
yeah, it's like what Coach said. If you want to play, you'll keep playing, man. It's nothing that I'm telling them. It's just.
And I think from the outside looking in, one of the things that should go, that shouldn't go unsaid is the traditions and the things that are done that are special that a lot of other schools don't have. I often talk about being able to get a playbook with numbers of the guys that came before you. Being able to sing the fight song and be able to do those kind of things. Being able to have the kind of alumni that are involved in the program. There's schools that have those things, but the traditions at St. Paul are probably one of the greatest things that I could ever recommend to a kid, to be able to go through those things and be able to have those things that last a lifetime, and the bond and the connection between people. Even though you're not necessarily talking to alumni all the time, but that everywhere you go, everything you do, you're going to run across people that know that they have similar experience going through the program, and that's fantastic. Those kind of things, to be able to pray together and to be able to sing together and to be able to bleed and cry together over things that matter is it's one of the greatest experiences in the world. And I'm grateful that myself and my family were able to have that experience and go through that and share those things amongst a generation of 10 years, 11 years apart between my brothers and I. And we have this similar experience that is shared, that you and I and Tom have, and that we were able to kind of give to the guys we coached, and those things are huge, and it's such a special thing to have it. And I know that a lot of kids play high school football and lose that, but to have that is special, and that you're there maintaining that and giving that back to those kids is an awesome deal, and you should be highly commended for it, Rick.
There's something special being a St. Paul guy. You say those words, people know what you're talking about.
That's
And
right.
I hats off to you, Rick, for sure. Cheers, brother.
Guys, no, I appreciate it. It's been fun catching up and just kind of shooting the breeze. I love that.
Yeah.
And when I say my prayers tonight, it's always, well, thank God that I was a swordsman and I got to meet guys like you. And
Yeah.
that's all we're trying to do, right? We're trying to share that with the kids that are around today. That's it.
You know. Hey,
All right, man.
who you got in the national championship game, Rick?
I'm I, I I- I'm a Nick Saban fan, so I'll go with Alabama. I'm a SEC guy, I guess, but
Yeah, yeah,
I really was excited to see the Ohio State, Clemson
Yeah.
game. That was pretty exciting.
yeah.
I didn't kind of see that coming, but I thought Notre Dame would give Alabama a little bit more punch in the nose here and there.
So did I.
Yeah, you know.
That
But
was
Well, it just
awful.
goes to show you. Just goes to show you Ohio State had the revenge factor, and you can never out over estimate the revenge factor and really how it burns a whole year worth of time, because I think Ohio State thought they outplayed Clemson last year and still lost. But yeah, it's been fun to watch. Just a little bit of it. It's kind of crazy to
yeah,
see a 4 and 6 teams in the in bowl games, and stuff. But
and
how
win
about the
too. I
NFL?
mean,
You got an NFL team you follow?
no, I like the Raiders just because old school stuff. I enjoy watching the Rams. I think they play real well, and their defense is
The
just
defense.
incredible. Yeah,
Damn.
yeah. So I just kind of pick and choose. I've never. We work Sundays, right? So normally in the NFL, I don't see one game. I don't even know what's going on.
They made
But
Sunday Night Football just for us,
yeah,
that one
yeah.
game.
Rick, we had a conversation not too long ago, and people said, what was the best game you saw of your brother playing at SC? And I said, I didn't see him play at SC. And they're like, you didn't see him play at SC? I said, no, I never saw him play. He says, you got to be kidding me. What the hell's wrong with you? I said, we worked. We
Yeah.
worked on Saturdays and Sundays. I said there was no free time, and
Right.
there are people that just have no clue. They think I'm an asshole, because they didn't see my brother play.
Yeah.
Well,
But
I'll,
yeah,
I'll tell you what, going on that point, yeah, I've actually enjoyed watching the NFL this year. I've never really done it. So
yeah,
that's
no
been
kidding.
kind
In
of
your
an
whole adult
experience.
life.
Yeah, really. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. I can see why people get into this.
Coach
So,
Chuck, do you want me to? Should I do the real quick hitters just as a talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
tradition?
yeah,
All right, so
yeah.
we have a little tradition here, Rick, where I just give you the 50-50 questions, and it's super easy. Just tell me the first thing that pops into your head. It's
Great.
the psychologist in me. It's nothing like that. But all right, you ready? So you just tell me which one, Elvis or Jerry Lee,
Jerry Lee,
Beatles or Stones,
Beatles,
Chuck D or LL Cool J.
Chuck D,
Attaboy. Ford or Chevy,
Ford,
Coke or Pepsi,
Coke,
whiskey or tequila,
whiskey,
Android or iOS,
Android,
baseball or football.
football.
Duh. Blonde or brunette? Be
Oh,
careful.
yeah, brunette,
J Lo or Selma?
J Lo,
Batman or Superman?
Superman,
World War II or Vietnam?
Vietnam,
Vin or Chick?
Vin.
All right, right on. I just wanted to say one more thing. Me and Rick, you're talking about that carpool situation. Me and Rick made carpooling fashionable way before. Rick was my original GPS. He could get me anywhere in Whittier or Pico Rivera. He sat right next to me shotgun for 2 years straight.
Yeah, well, and then I guess I should have. Do I have to apologize to you about him breaking the window, Rick?
Oh, I told him the story. You were in the
Warren,
car, Rick.
the Warren 7-on-7.
The Warren 7-on-7.
Remember
See,
that
Chuck?
vividly.
We're talking in behind your back, Chuck.
Hey, it's all right, man. I understand. The things you didn't understand back then, I can't be responsible for.
Hey, listen.
That's right.
Coming from the guy who had 14 picks, I didn't think a pick was that bad of a deal.
I'll just finish with this. With Coach,
Please.
And I mentioned to you, I think I mentioned the other day, but I still use a lot of things that you taught, and I watch DB guys put these kids through these footwork drills, and they break out another drill, and they break out another thing, and another weird looking cone, and all of. But there's one thing that I always felt that you taught us how to do, and that was to make plays. How do you make plays?
Right.
And that's what I tell my guys to this day. I'm like, dude, I ain't teaching you the stupid foot drill. I'm teaching you how to make a play. There's a difference, man. But nobody does it, and you did that, and I still use that to this day. So
That's
I
awesome.
appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right on.
Big
Cool,
love
Rick.
to you, Rick. Big love,
Yep.
buddy.
Okay,
And love
guys.
to the
Love
family.
you guys too.
All right, we're gonna
buddy.
hang out here
Thanks
for a
lot.
minute, so you just click out, and we'll. I'll let you know. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, guys. See you soon.
Thanks,
All right.
man.
Good luck,
Safe.
Rick. All right,
Okay,
buddy.
thank you. Bye-bye.